So I want to dive right in if we can, just to get everybody get a vibe for who you are. You talk about hacking the God code. Okay, so let's go right there because this has been a proverbial thing that everybody's been trying to figure out. Um, what are you doing that's making that happen? Like how is that hackable, and how do you feel like you've been able to get to a point where we at least can understand what to even hack?
Well, that's a different slant than what the book is talking about, which is the transhumanist agenda to get into our DNA and hack the DNA. So the second half of the book is more in line with what you're talking about, which is how to um, activate the DNA, how to embed sacred geometry, how to stimulate the sacred vibrational tonalities and frequencies, etc., which would be sort of like what I would consider you're talking about with hacking the God code. But the title of the book has to do with um, how a transhumanist agenda underway on this planet is actually determined to get in and remove the God code
No.
and destroy that sacred within us. So the book has these two aspects, and one is what they're trying to do, and then the second part is what we're going to do about it. But that is very real. We have representatives from the higher echelons, shall we say, that are openly talking about humans being hackable animals,
Mhm.
and that they're going to change our biology and make us better. And my attitude, and yours, I'm sure, is we're great just the way we
What
are. Thank you very much.
exactly? Why fix perfection, right? Um,
I mean, especially when you recognize that you are a divine being, you understand the divinity within you and the sovereign knowing that every cell of your body has the godlight within it. So I am speaking out to people so that we don't get confused and distracted and start being so attracted to what they're calling evolution or uh, transitional aspects for the human race and lose that humanity
Mhm.
and lose that God
No,
essence.
let's talk
Not
about that if we can for a minute. So the transitional aspect of the human race. So then there's this whole talk about going from, let's say, a 3D to a 5D or a solar flash that's going to help you do that. And from what I'm gathering, are you saying that's not how we need to be thinking, or how do we need to be thinking right now as far as it goes to there? Are we going through an evolvement, or have we lost sight that it's already within us? And there's nothing else to seek other than go deeper. Where are you at with all that?
part of that is that I'm not event oriented. So I'm never waiting in my spiritual life, which is most of my life. I've always been very much, let's say, rooted in the idea that every step is the evolution, and that I'm not waiting for an event. I'm not event oriented. So it's every day there's a new event. We've got the solar flare. We've got the asteroids passing, good or bad. We have good aliens that are going to come, light beams, and personally, I think I might get some static for this, but I believe that waiting for an event to happen is disempowering, and
Absolutely.
that we don't need to wait for anything. We need to be very now,
Mhm.
very aware of who we are, what we are, and that within us we have all the design, the architecture, the DNA, all the godlight, all of the wonder to manage that inner world of evolution and ascension and all these things that excite us without needing an external force to occur that suddenly triggers us from one dimension to another.
Which I couldn't agree anymore. I from my perspective, I think it's crippling. I think putting out these concepts of something that may or may not happen. It's some people look at it, it sounds like complete fantasy. Other people think it's the most insane thing I've ever heard of. And then there's other sectors of people that it's crippling them because they are not doing anything in the now to create their own reality because they are waiting for this unknown event to occur. So they just kind of sit back and, you know, just kind of mosey on along, but they're not really creating the life that they want. It's putting them in like a state of like frozen, really. Um,
Yeah, I I can't help but wonder if sometimes we get these messages from wherever the trend starts, for that very reason, because I think we do have infiltration in the spiritual communities, and that this is a community of beings that, empowered completely, can completely disarm the dark side. So every so often we get some kind of a new thing. One of them is the flat earth, which you may or may not adhere to, but that people glom onto this new idea, and then everything revolves around that. We start fighting amongst us for a concept, and nothing gets done. So my work has always been about empowering the individual to, number one, really understand you've got it, you've always had it, and you will have it whether you're going out or walking through this tunnel of let's call density, which is the 3D, and that no event is necessary for your evolution. I also think, as I've been writing about ascension for a long time, I think that we are actually now moving into the fourth dimension. My earlier books talked quite a lot about that, and that part of this subtle shift, because let's face it, everybody wants to go directly to the fifth, and we're in the higher consciousness, and that was fine. But the subtle shift in the fourth is where time mutates. Time disappears in the fourth. And so it's very interesting that most everybody now is talking about how they're losing time. It's like 4 or 5 hours of the day just get sucked right out. And my understanding and perception is that we are already well along in this process of subtly shifting out of the third into the fourth, and that it still looks like the third, but something's different. And
something does feel different.
Also the clashing of all this dark and light, this Armageddon situation, is something also that I understand the fourth dimension to be. It's karma time. Karma as individuals, and karma for the entire civilization globally. That the fourth dimension is a zone or a vibrational field where we were confronted with the whole Megillah. And so we're dealing with global karma, individual, personal karma, all at the same time.
Do you feel like the people that are relaying this information, I can't imagine people wake up in the morning and be like, okay, let me just screw with humanity and just try to do that all the time with that consistency. Do you think they're tapping into unknowingly just something, and where, if they are, where do you think why do you think their discernment meter is so far off? Because some of these people say this stuff with pretty strong conviction. You know what I mean? And then there's a lot of people that say this they believe in what they're saying with pretty strong conviction. How do they, if they're that intelligent to be able to get that, how are they not as intelligent to be able to say, not even question it, not even question it, to be able to just get out there with it? You know what I mean? Like it's not even a matter. It's an absolute fact from that point of view.
So the beautiful thing with ASEA is that they figure out how to make the same molecules that the mitochondria were already kicking out in the body, but have been doing less of. Now you can replenish your system supply. So, you don't need to worry about the fact that your system stopped being able to produce it, because now we can get your levels back up to, what they were when you were young, in a way that like your body naturally understands and knows. It's like it can't hurt you. It's just going to help your system repair and, be in its optimum.